Hey everybody, Barry at CTech. Today we are going to do our first towing review on the 2025 Ram 1500 RHO. Let's do this. Got the way safe hitch we're going to use today. Be curious to see what the tongue weight is on the trailer. All right, little trick I'm going to show you guys with this tongue jack by Lippert. This is a pretty cool little feature. Let's see if this works today. That's it. This is awesome jack option. If you're interested, I'll put a link down below. Got the inline all connected. Kind of early in the morning. We don't have a whole lot of weight in here. We only have 2 sleds, but we're gonna be picking up a 3rd. So that's it. Be curious. We might have to move the sleds back a little bit if the tongue weight's not set up correctly on the trailer. Another thing I'm happy to see, notice the lights worked in the trailer. This is something Ram must do a little bit different than Ford. With the Fords a lot, when you first connect the 7-pin, it won't send 12 volt to the inside of the trailer, just the lights. You got to hit your tow part integrated brake controller first. Got a little squat right at the moment, but we might have a lot of tongue weight, so let's see. Oh, something I want to mention to you guys. If you have your door open in these new Rams, trying to back up or go forward, it won't let you do it. So that's kind of a bummer. So I move trailers a lot. Sometimes you got the door open, you're monkeying around. If you guys can figure out a way to do that, let me know, but I have not been able to figure that out. We're gonna go, this is our trailer info. We got our cameras. Let's see, what else I wanna show. It's kind of cool, we got trailer 1. We're using this trailer right now. We got the brake set up at light. Trailer name Snowmobile. This is pretty cool. In the trailer screen, it shows your trailer brake settings, coolant temp, oil temp, trans temp, oil pressure, tow mode. All right, we're in tow mode right now. And just like that, we're gonna get on the road. So some things that I like about the Ram, the truck is always in all-wheel drive. And there's times where I'm connecting trailers and doing certain little things where I'm glad to have that instantaneous 4-wheel traction, which is kind of nice, especially in a snowy environment. Before I start going down the road, less than 5 miles an hour, I always like to do a manual pull, make sure my brakes and my trailer are working. One thing I really like about the Ram and appreciate is the trans temps. These things run a lot cooler than what I'm used to with the Fords. All right, so here we go. So if you notice in the left-hand corner, it says 20 foot. This thing's got a auto blind spot set up, and it's pretty darn close. The trailer's 23 feet. I'll be curious to see if that ends up updating to the next highest length of the trailer. But acceleration, no problem. All right, we're doing the 30-second method here. Man, it sucks putting in premium. There we go. We're not doing anything crazy. This is just our inline trailer. We've done a lot of videos with this. We've done Bronco Raptor, Raptor R, Cummins, LZO. We've done a lot of vehicles. Loaded up, lengthwise, we're about 23 feet, I think about 8.5, 9 foot tall. Total weight right now, we got 2 snowmobiles inside. I'll show you. We're probably around 4,500 to 5,000 pounds. Now, I want to kind of show you guys what the truck stance is sitting like right now. I'd say it's about 1 inch low in the rear, which is not bad. Believe it or not. If you're coming from a Raptor without airbags, it's gonna look very similar. And in fact, I think my 24R actually had a little more sag than this, given how much tongue weight we're running. We're running the way safe hitch today, and I wanna show you guys, that's 700-800 pounds. 700-800 pounds of tongue weight, not running weight distribution. I don't do that on snowmobile trailers, it's not necessary. We're gonna run the truck in auto, and if the snow picks up and it's terrible conditions, we might switch to snow mode, but it's not really necessary, in my opinion, to run snow mode in the RHO like we might with other trucks, because the truck's already all-wheel drive, so we're good there. Just got 2 sleds. We got the sleds pushed. If you notice, the axle's right there, so we got a lot of weight on the front of this. This trailer drives about 2,500 pounds. So the fact that a 2,500 pound dry trailer with probably about 1,500 pounds of tongue weight, we got almost 20% on the tongue. I know what you're gonna say, that's high. I agree, but I've noticed these aluminum enclosed trailers require more tongue weight than traditional trailers. The other thing I want to kind of talk a little bit about in this video is this tongue jack. This is the Lippert, and it allows you to use manual adjustment as well as you can use an impact on the top, and I'll show you. I think we've got our hitch in a pretty good position as far as the trailer being level. We'll just see how this truck, we might have to push the sleds at the return part of the trip back a little bit if we find there's too much weight on it. But today, our goal is to figure out how's the old Hurricane do for performance, power, fuel economy? How's the Ram do for stability? And we will see how this bad boy does. We just filled up our tank. We're gonna reset our fuel economy, so this is gonna be a hand calculated trip. First acceleration on the highway with the snowmobile trailer. Let's see how this thing does. Acceleration's no problem. All right, we got the cruising gauge 70 mile an hour. So your trans temp's coming up right now. Looks like we're setting in about 7th gear. Let me see. Nope, we're actually in 6th gear right now. I'm gonna see if we can force 7th or 8th gear. Okay, I can confirm the Hurricane cannot hold 8th gear and tow this trailer because we had the cruise set at 70 and it's down to 62 mile an hour. So it will not be able to pull this thing in 8th gear, unfortunately. But if it can do 7th gear, that's okay. Okay, for those wondering, can you do hands-free driving with a trailer attached? No, you cannot. It will not let you do this. It says no ADA, trailer is connected. So no hands-free driving like the GM Super Cruise. I don't know if Blue Cruise will allow you with the trailer connected. I think this is still gonna give us, yeah, it kind of still gives you a lane, it still gives you lane centering. It just doesn't give you the ADA system. That's kind of a bummer, but also at the same time, I'm not really sure you should ever really tow hands-free. Not sure I feel comfortable with that. Heads-up display though, that's working pretty good. Okay, so what's my thoughts so far? I mean, the biggest thing, in my opinion, about the Ram, the newer Rams, ever since 2019 to be fair, is the interior on these trucks is just so premium. They're so nice to drive. I mean, it's a really, really comfortable vehicle. So, I mean, if you're wanting a premium truck, interior-wise, this is about as high as it comes. Hurricane-wise, the thing that I like about the Hurricane that might spoil me, and it's not the power, believe it or not, it's the smoothness. You don't realize how smooth an engine can be until you've been in one that's really smooth. I mean, there's just no vibration in the vehicle. When the engine starts, start-stop, sitting in an idle, it's just nothing. It's kind of incredible. So I really appreciate that, and I'll be curious to see, more so than anything, I'm gonna be really curious to see how the Hurricane performs towing today. An inline 6-cylinder, arguably, is a very good engine. I mean, how many bad 6-cylinder engines, if you think about it, inline 6s, not V6s, if we go back in history, how many bad inline 6-cylinders can you guys remember? I can't think of many. I mean, we go back to the Ford 300, was that a 4.2 liter or something like that back in the day? Farmers, ranchers, construction sites, people were buying these trucks not for fuel economy, but for reliability. There's people running these things 2, 3, 4, 500,000 miles on them, and those motors just held up really, really well. Then if you go to Toyota with the 2JZs, you know, making big power behind Supras and other cars. You look at the BMW 3 liters, those things, what is it, B58s, or I forgot the specific engine codes in 58. Phenomenal engines. You go to the Barra with Ford back in the day, that was a solid engine. I'm hoping this is the next line of 6-cylinder. Oh, and add another 6-cylinder, it's great. The GM LZO, the 3-liter diesel that's in the half-ton trucks and the full-size SUVs. You can even get in an Escalade. It's been a wild success for General Motors. Why don't we see more of these? Well, we were gonna see more with some of the manufacturers. I think it was General Motors was gonna come out with one, but they canceled it and did the next-gen V8 instead. Then the question is, why were 6-cylinder engines not more popular? Well, from my understanding, if we go back in the last 50 to 100 years, the reason why V8s were more popular than inline six-cylinders is to make the power of a V8 in a six-cylinder required turbos from a gas engine perspective. And there weren't many gas turbo engines available until the last 15, 20 years. This has been sort of a new thing with run-of-the-mill engines. I mean, yeah, you had the Grand National back in the day, the Cyclone, the Typhoons. Those things were awesome back in the early 90s, which were incredible vehicles. But that was not your run-of-the-mill vehicle. So if you wanted the power, you wanted a V8. Secondly, and this is a problem still to this day, is packaging, engine packaging in the underhood area. If you look at the engine packaging, inline six-cylinders are really long versus a V8 is literally like 50% shorter because you can just go sideways. So underhoods have been really developed around V configuration engines, and so it's easier to package that engine widthwise than lengthwise. I had the fortunate opportunity in my career to work with FCA back in the 18s and 19 time frame, and I learned a lot about this working with these guys because they were trying to develop the GME-T6, which is the code name for the Hurricane engine. And they made two variants, standard output, high output. So when the GME-T6 was being developed, they had to figure out the whole packaging situation to getting this six-cylinder turbo engine under the hood of a lot of vehicles. And it wasn't an easy thing to do. They had to redesign firewall, they had to redesign transmission mounts, they had to redesign your crash members up front, radiators, because you got this long engine. The good news is, once it gets in there, it's in the middle of the vehicle, and if you really want to like go down the rabbit hole, from a safety standpoint, in a front-end collision, I would much rather prefer an inline engine in front of me than a V engine. And here's my theory, and I heard this a long time ago from a family friend. It was in a really bad accident back in the mid-90s. He was driving a Ford with the inline six-cylinder F-150, and a drunk driver hit him, like really high-speed accident. It was bad. The guy ended up passing away. Our family friend ended up passing away a few months later. But in the accident, the front-end collision, the engine of that truck pushed back, and it pushed back right here. Well, luckily in my truck, I got a center console here. So if that front-end collision happened in the same type of accident, the engine, if it ever had to have a really nasty situation, the engine could push in between driver and passenger. So you got all this extra room potentially for an engine to go. Now, hopefully nothing like that ever happens to me or my family or anyone I know or any of you guys. But it is kind of nice knowing in a front-end collision, I wonder, is an inline six-cylinder safer than a V engine that's a little flatter and would push the whole firewall back? I don't know, just some food for thought. So far, engine is really quiet. Coming from the Raptor R, Bronco, we just towed this exact same trailer. And in full fairness, the vehicle that has impressed me the most towing this trailer so far is probably not what you guys are gonna think. It's not my Cummins. It's not even the LZO. It's not my Raptor R. It's been the Bronco Raptor. That thing shocked me. I could not believe how good that little thing towed. The stability of the Bronco Raptor was awesome. It squatted, it squatted a lot, but the stability felt great. But the thing that I was most impressed with was the performance. At 70 on the highway, the Bronco Raptor could hold 10th gear consistently. I don't think we're gonna be able to do that with this one. Yeah, like right now, we're in 8th gear going downhill, but I think it's gonna shift out here and it's probably gonna jump to 7th gear. Our Raptor R could not hold 10th gear overdrive, and our standard Raptor could not hold 10th gear overdrive. And shockingly enough, the Raptor actually towed our snowmobile trailer a little better than the Raptor R. Here's what I mean. Raptor R's got a ton of power, and especially at the high RPMs, but I found at the lower RPMs, the torque curve of the 3.5 high output Ecoboost, I found was a little bit better if you tow. If you're wanting all out performance, the Raptor R is an animal. I mean, it's amazing. but from a towing perspective, I actually preferred the 3.5 high output. And it's not just me, because I have another buddy locally by me. He also watches the channel, and he had a 24 Raptor R, and he just towed a open trailer with his RHO, and he was not overly impressed with it. But his reasons were different than mine. His was the engine was so loud going down the road after 2.5, 3 hours of driving. It was like, dude, this thing is annoying. I noticed that with our travel trailer with the Raptor R. I didn't notice it with this trailer, but what we both did notice was that with the Raptor R, it's got the exhaust modes where you can change the valves in the exhaust. You can't actually make Raptor R go quiet mode in the highway unless with the trailer attached, the valves still stay partially open. So even though I love the sound of a supercharged V8, it sounds great. Imagine hearing that motor ripping for like 3 hours straight. It gets super annoying. It's not a great towing engine for that perspective. Performance towing was awesome. Fuel economy performance was not great, but actual performance was great. Engine braking on the Raptor R was phenomenal. I mean, it was amazing. And what was wild is comparing the Raptor R to the Cummins, I actually think the Raptor R had better acceleration than our Cummins. And I know you're gonna say, well, of course, it's got 700 horsepower. But typically, when you are towing, torque is more important. And the Cummins has 850 pound-feet of torque, whereas the Raptor, I think, was around 600. But the acceleration of the Raptor R was still a little bit better than the Cummins. We're about 68, 70 miles towing into this trip so far. Here's my impressions coming from multiple Ecoboost engines. I'm talking, I've towed this trailer with a 2.7 Ecoboost, 3-liter Ecoboost, standard 3.5 Ecoboost, multiple 3.5-liter high output Ecoboost, either between Navigator or Raptors, Raptor R, Cummins, LZO, now the Hurricane. What I would say, I'll first start with powertrain. The Hurricane seems to really like the 7th gear at 70 pulling this trailer. We're looking at 22 to 2300 RPMs. Makes boost, you know, I haven't seen over 11 pounds of boost, which is nothing for this engine. This engine can do 28 pounds plus a boost in stock configuration. It makes torque really good. As we're talking right now, 70 mile an hour on a flat, making 140 horsepower, 330 pound-feet of torque, 6 PSI. That's pretty awesome at 2200 RPMs. We're getting about 7.5 miles per gallon, and you might say that sounds terrible. It's actually not too bad when we compare it to other trucks like it. Now, we had a little bit of an interesting anomaly recently with the Bronco Raptor. That thing blew me away with how well it did for fuel economy. But that was not really a full loop. That was kind of like around and about, but it did great. I was super impressed. But when I've done this trailer with 6.2, with a 6.2 liter Raptor versus the 3.5 high output, the worst I've ever seen is about 6.5. The best I've ever seen with a gas engine is about 10.5, 11. And that was most recently with the Raptor Bronco. I think what makes the Bronco Raptor do so well towing this trailer on the last trip we did is the gearing in the axles. The thing has 470 gears. So the reason it can stay in 10th gear is because 10th gear overdrive is really like 7th gear in the ZF transmission. The other thing I like, I'll be curious to see how this thing is with a heavier trailer, but with this trailer, I actually like the 8-speed transmission more than the 10-speed behind the Ford. Here's the reason why. It shifts less. If we had a V8, not a boosted engine, I think I'd like those gears more because you could really fine-tune it. This thing doesn't need to shift a lot. It just makes more boost. And I think this is going to be one of the reasons we're going to really like this 8-speed transmission mated with the Hurricane. My intake air temps right now, it's 17 degrees out. It'd be probably sitting at 50, 60, 70 degrees. It's sitting about 32 degrees. That's probably a good solid 10 to 20 degrees cooler than I would expect from my Bronco Raptor or from standard Raptor. One of the other channels did a towing review on the Hurricane, I think it was the RHO, and said the engine braking was basically non-existent. I don't actually disagree with them, but in reality, if you got to look at what you compare it to. If you compare it to a natural aspirated V8, any V8 I found is better. With that being said, if you compare it to the competition of the Hurricane, the Ecoboost, the turbomax, LZ0's borderline better, and the Tundra with the 6-cylinder twin turbo. Dude, all those engines have hardly any engine braking. My 2.7 Ecoboost, my 3.0 Ecoboost, my 3.5 Ecoboost, power boost and high output. I've driven and towed with all of them. They're all non-existent. They just make a lot of engine noise and have barely any impact on deceleration with the trailer. So I would agree that the engine braking is not great on the Hurricane, but you gotta look at what you're comparing it to. If you want good engine braking, go get in a Cummins. That's best in class. And it's a 6-cylinder inline, which is also funny. Then after that, I'd put like the Power Stroke and Duramax. After that, from my experience, I thought the Raptor R engine braking was really good. It would really put the binders on you. I don't know if it's the supercharger helps with parasitic losses, so it decels better. That one was good. After that, I put the 7.3 Godzilla, and then just a bunch of slew of V8s after that, and then all the boosted 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder engines. Stability-wise, that's the big question, right? After performance braking, dude, stability-wise, this thing feels really good. This is probably the tallest bridge in this part south of Michigan, called the Zilwaukee. Let's see what the Hurricane can do going up this. We're in 7th gear. You can see it's making 437 pound-feet of torque. Pretty impressive, guys. It hasn't even shifted. That's awesome. There we are. Made it to the top. See, we're gaining a little speed. Let's see our temps. 201 oil temp, oil pressure 41. There's your coolant temp 203, trans temp 181, intercooler temp 39. Man, numbers look good at that low of RPM. Incredible. That's the power of the Hurricane right there. 2,300 RPMs. We got a slight grade here too. Let's see what we get for boost here. 400 pound-feet of torque, 10, 11 PSI. Look at the horsepower, torque, boost. Okay, so I'm gonna do some just engine braking here to slow down. We're slowing down, I'm not touching the brakes. We'll try to find a better stop, but I didn't find any issue with the engine braking on this thing at all. If there's a difference, it'd be really hard to pick up because the 3.5 Ecoboost for engine braking is pretty much non-existent. All the Ecoboost engines have hardly any engine braking. Truck did pretty good. I'm glad we had the rock blocks on before this trip. You can see, stopped a lot of snow there. Protect the rocker panels until we get some PPF on this thing. Load the third one in. Let's see cold start. Let's listen to that valvetrain engine. Quiet, sounding good. Not hearing any noises this cold morning. So this is what an RHO looks like with about, I think we're sitting about 700-800 pounds of ton weight right now. Plus we got a crap ton of gear inside the truck. You can see how much gear we got in here. We're ready to go. Do a little snowmobile and check out this Z71, looks sharp. Size wise, I'm thinking it's lifted on 35s. Looks good. Nice day up here. All right, we're gonna fill this beast up real quick. All right, let's do the 30-second method here. Man, it's an expensive fill up. 30.07 gallons. Let's go do hand calculated now. 246 miles divided by 30.07 Gallons, let's see what hand calculated is. Shockingly, for the first time with this truck, we actually got better than hand calculated. So we got 7.8 on the computer, but 8.19 with the hand calculator. Getting a little snowmobile rip in here today at the old Thirsty Sturgeon. Pretty cool place, right on the water. Got good fish and chips. Say you can't get good fuel economy in an RHO. Guys, we're doing 48 miles per hour, getting 15 miles per gallon. Towing our trailer, consistent. So you tow slow at speeds like this, yeah, you're gonna get, 15 to 20 miles per gallon, which is pretty good. 30-second method here. All right, let's see where we're at for fuel economy. Something I wanted to mention, this thing said less than 10 miles till empty, and I just put 28.74 gallons in this thing, and this got a 33-gallon tank. So even though this thing said 10 miles to empty, I still had another, I'm gonna guess, 4.5 gallons of fuel in, which is kind of interesting. All right, let's do hand calculated. 236 miles divided by 28.736. Wow, I am 2 for 2, guys, on the computer actually being lower than hand calculated. That is awesome. It's obviously not great fuel economy. Better to see hand calculated being higher than the computer. See the engine braking? Just hit the brake, it's downshifting. You're just tapping the brake. See it keep going down. Okay, so what are my thoughts on after towing about 500 miles or just shy of 500 miles with the RHO? I'm gonna start with the pros. Right off the bat, the first most noticeable thing I've noticed coming from a Raptor and even other half-ton trucks is the stability. I had a feeling it was gonna feel a little bit better towing than our F-150 Raptor and Raptor R from the standpoint that it's a stiffer suspension on road. Man, that translated in really well with towing this trailer. I was really impressed. This is by far of half-ton trucks I've owned, this is the best stability towing half-ton truck I've owned. And that includes multiple max tow GMCs, Silverados, Sierras, F-150s. Believe it or not, I found that these off-road trucks, when you can get the suspension stiff, especially with airbags on the Raptor, this extra width in these off-road trucks with trailers this size, not 10,000 pounds, like less than 5,000 pounds, these things tow really well because they're so heavy and they're so wide that they give you some really good stability. And this towed better than my F-150 Raptor, the 21 and the 24 from a stability standpoint. Now, next thing I really liked. I love to see that the actual hand calculated fuel economy was better than in computer. And it's wild that both tanks were almost the exact same fuel economy. I also found this truck like 7th gear with this trailer towing down the highway. It seems to be able to be pretty stable right around 22 to 2400 RPMs. It would not do 8th gear. It would not hold overdrive at 70 miles an hour. I couldn't do it with this trailer, with this truck. The third thing I really liked on this truck was just how comfortable it is going down the road towing. Great comfort, was really happy. Having all the gauges you have and all the adjustability, looking at temperatures, trans temp, coolant temp, oil temps, never got hot at all. That was really nice to see how cool this thing runs. Granted, it's cold out. Granted, this is less than a 5,000 pound trailer, but at least it's our first go. We'll be pulling 8,000 pounds with this thing several thousand miles this summer. So if you guys want to see pushing this thing heavier and hotter temperatures, we will be doing it. The other thing, squat in the rear end. We're running about 600 to 800 pounds. I got to go back and look at the footage. Somewhere between 600 and 800 pounds of tongue weight on this this truck. Plus we had, between two guys and gear and everything, we probably had another I'm gonna say 400 to 800 pounds of payload in the truck, no issue. So that's another good thing. I was not using any of the lane control. You can't do hands-free driving, towing, which is a good thing to use. The tow mode, some people will like this, some people won't. To me, with this size trailer, I get why Ram does this, but when it's in tow mode, the thing wants to downshift basically immediately all the time. Considering the temperatures we were towing at and everything outside, and I wasn't getting hot or anything like that, I was running it most of the time in non-tow mode because it holds 7th. Even going up inclines, I was able to hold 7th gear, no problem. Tire noise, road noise, overall just sounds, it was great. If you tow a lot and you're doing a lot of highway driving, one of the things I really welcome is how quiet the exhaust is on this truck. Even when it had to drop a gear and go to 3,000, 3,500 RPMs, it's fairly quiet. And if you're towing long distances a lot, that was very much appreciated. Okay, so now let's get into some of the things where I would have liked to have seen some improvements. 8.2 miles per gallon. How does that compare to other gas trucks we've used in the past? Well, I look back at some footage of when I had my 21 Raptor, anywhere between 6.8 and 8.2, doing a pretty similar trip. So that's not out of question. Comparing it to the Gen 3 Raptor, how's the performance towing? I've said this before and I still believe this. This is more a mid to higher RPM engine. I found under 2,500 RPMs, I think the 3.5 high output in the Raptor feels a little bit stronger than the 3.0 in the Hurricane. Above that 2,500 RPMs, this is considerably, it was noticeably stronger. I was right at that threshold towing at about 23 to 2,500 RPMs, and that seemed to be the happy point where it would make up to 420 or 450 pound-feet of torque in the gauges towing, so that was no issue. Towing compared to Raptor R. Raptor R has way more power, and we never towed Raptor R, this trailer, in the wintertime, but when we towed this trailer in the summertime, we got very similar fuel economy as Raptor R. A few things to consider. We're running wintertime, winter fuel, winter efficiencies. There's a big difference, probably anywhere between 1 and 2 mile per gallon impact on that. So I didn't even really want to include that because it's so anecdotal. Engine braking, it's not very good, but you got to ask, comparing it to what? If you compare this to any other Ecoboost engine or any other boosted 4-cylinder or 6-cylinder gasoline towing engine out there, it's no different. It's no better, it's no worse. They're the same. They're all on the same scale of not great. If you come from a V8 gas engine or a diesel, if you're going into thinking you're gonna get engine braking out of these things, you're really not gonna get anything. It's never bothered me, and I'm probably towed 40,000 miles with these engines. I've never had a problem. But if I was spending time doing the Ike Gauntlet, pulling 15,000 pounds behind one of these things at really dangerous speeds, that would be something to consider. But here in Michigan, Midwest, all the way to Florida, never had a problem. The other thing that I got to figure out, maybe there's a way to do it and I just don't know it yet. I wish I could figure out how to get a side profile, these type of cameras right here, looking down the vehicle. It'd be sweet to get that on the display where you can see down the trailer side when you're backing up. I haven't figured that out. I do want to kind of figure that out. Another thing that's a positive I should have added, when this truck is attached to my trailer, immediately I have lights in the trailer. That is super cool. None of my Fords, at least up into 24, as soon as I connected, here's what I mean. I'm connected right now to the trailer, okay? I'm gonna go in the trailer real quick and look at this. I bet you my lights work. Open this door. Boom, I got lights in here. My Ford would not do that. I love having that where as soon as I connect, I'm good to go. Some people might ask me, why do you use a RHO or Raptor for towing trailers? It's because I use my truck to do everything. I put deer in the bed of the truck. I go dirt bike, we go mountain bike, we go camping. Why would I have just this cool looking truck if I'm not gonna use it as a truck too? Overall, guys, I'd say I'm really impressed. First tow, 500 miles. We just crossed 2,000 miles with the RHO. Very impressed. Fuel economy was right where I would expect. I was worried it was gonna be like 6 miles per gallon. No problem at all. Power, braking, interior, suspension, no issues. Truck gave me no problems, and I'm very happy with it and look forward to towing again with this because I love the stability. That's the thing that was so great. I don't have airbags on this. I have no helpers, and I had great stability towing with this thing. Hey guys, I hope you enjoy this video. We got more fun stuff coming, and this is just the beginning of trailers we're gonna pull behind this thing. See you later.